Hello everyone. Today I will be telling you the enormous amount of money that I have earned from YouTube this week. I mean, you are going to be shocked and astounded and probably, well, underwhelmed. Anyway, I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to be doing in my next couple of videos and other things that have come to my attention on YouTube this week that have got me thinking. If that sounds of interest to you, then stick around. Right, the first thing is I have decided that given I'm earning so much money from YouTube for Jack and Lily, the video that has had that thing slapped on it because of the what can I say, the naughty content that they don't like, having your eyes done and all that, and not eating a lot. Well, I've decided to edit that video. Well, not that particular video. I'll leave that one up because I don't think it's right to delete a video. But what I'm going to do is edit the video that I made, give it a new thumbnail. I'm warning you that you don't have to watch it because, you will be watching a repeat, except it'll be a shorter repeat. And then I'm going to just put it out again because otherwise all of that work will have gone for nothing. And, it's, if it were for me, do you know what? I would just delete it, but it's for Jack and Lily. So I don't think I should. I think I should faff around with it a bit more and then re-upload it with a different thumbnail and a different title. And hopefully with those bits cut out, that won't attract the ire from YouTube and I won't get a ban slapped on it or whatever they call it, restriction. So that's one thing. The other big news is that now, if you don't speak English, you can get me dubbed. Now, I haven't watched the dubbing, primarily because I only speak English. So, if I don't sound like myself, if I don't sound like myself, it is because I'm not. But at least what I'm saying will get out there and people will be able to understand it. Now, should they be English speakers, then they can slip back and forwards and see what I sound like speaking English. However, say if they are Korean and they don't speak a word of English, maybe they'd like to listen to me speaking in their own language. Maybe they would find this content, is interesting, if only I could say it. And then that would be nice, wouldn't it? It also might help with subscriber levels, which now are currently dropping. Honestly, I have ceased worrying about it because, you can drop 20 subscribers as easily as anything. And I don't actually think it's the subscribers that are doing it. I think YouTube are just culling people for some reason. I mean, yes, it might be a few subscribers that think, oh, I've had enough of listening to this old trout, but I don't think that many would suddenly unsubscribe. So I'm taking heart and thinking it's just YouTube's way of keeping you going. I told you I was going to show you how much I earned this week. Well, I've got it on my phone. There you go. That's what, £3.68 this week. Not a fortune. I spent more than that on a coffee the other day in Costa Coffee. So clearly I'm going to have to work a lot harder. Having said that, with that new little ASMR channel I've got going called Good Night, Sleep Tight ASMR, I tried recording something the other day and I was interrupted by the planes and I was interrupted by the screeching of the children. And, you know, I did say I love that screeching. It is so shrill and so reminiscent of every single child that ever went to junior school or infant school or anything. So I got up at 4 a.m. this morning and I thought, right, I'll get going. So I went into my study. I'm only recording my voice because I had my gym jams on and, you know, can't really, I just don't want to make videos in my gym jams. So I went into the study and started recording and I got through an entire chapter of the book that I'm reading. Then I started reading chapter 11 and I'd probably done about 3 pages when I heard the first bird. Now, I have to tell you, it was dark at that point. I mean, what is the matter with these birds? Don't they have a watch? Don't they look at the time and think, no, it's not time for the dawn chorus? Honestly. So I stopped and I waited for them to stop and they stopped. And as soon as I started speaking again, up they pipe. So I thought, right. I watched a video of another British ASMR artist, I think they're called. And she is doing really well. She's a lovely girl. And she was saying that she does her recording at 3 a.m. And at the time I thought, oh my goodness, that is absolutely hardcore. You know, I just couldn't get my head around it. But this morning, I get it. I get it. Tomorrow, I will be getting up at 3 a.m. and I'm going to get straight onto that recording to finish off that chapter that I was interrupted doing. So that's another thing. I think if I stayed up until 11:30 and then started recording, I would still get the noise of the cars and the pubs chucking out time. And we live near a main road and, you know, sound does travel. So I think 3 a.m. I'm going to give it a go and see if I can record at least 2 or 3 chapters so then I can edit them into videos. So that's another thing. Right, what else have I got in my little policeman's notebook? I watched a video called GenX Anxiety. And I just thought, actually, it's not just Gen X. It's all the generations. We all have anxiety these days. It seems to be a very big thing. I probably think it was heightened by COVID. That feeling of the end of the world with so many people passing away. I don't normally say that term, but, you know, I've already been slapped with the ban. So I'm going to use the euphemism, but I prefer to use, in general, when I'm talking to you, you know, straight on, I would use the normal word. But I am being forced to use a euphemism. So I don't think it's just singled out for Gen X. At all stages of our life, even my little grandson Jack has anxiety about his schoolwork, about friends at his school, especially if they're not playing fair. He is a person that really needs justice if somebody is cheating or not being kind or not doing things the right way, he feels very aggrieved, and that makes him anxious. Lily, on the other hand, would just tell them no. But she's a totally different character. Then you get to the stage where you start going to senior school, and then it ramps up a bit, because when you were at the end of junior school and you were at the top of your tree, as it were, then you are back to being a little minnow in a great big lake. And so many other big boys are out there, and big girls, and not all of them are nice. I was bullied. And I didn't stand up for myself. And then one day, an adult friend of the family told me what to say to bullies, and I used it, and things changed. But it doesn't stop at secondary school. Gradually, as you go along in secondary school, then you've got exams, and that's another entire different level of anxiety. Young people are told that everything depends on their achieving these goals, these exams, when in fact, if they are creatives, dancers, actors, artists, they think in a different way. They're not into the world of academe. That doesn't float their boat. I watched an amazing TED Talk, and I urge you to go and look at it, by Sir Ken Robinson. Now, he was on the TED Talk talking about education and how education was ruining the creativity of young people. He was funny, but so accurate. You should watch it if you like. It is absolutely brilliant and so funny. Absolutely so funny. And if you've got a creative child, then you will understand why they don't sit down and they don't tend to stick their nose in a book. They tend to look out of the window and daydream, because their head is on a different plane. Then, of course, you leave school, and then you've got to go and find a job. Now, in this day and age, our young folk are used to seeing influencers and YouTubers like me, make a living seemingly out of just taking pictures of themselves or making a video. Now, I can attest to making a video is not that easy. And I'm sure even being an influencer can't be that easy, because you've always got to look at the top of your game, and not everybody has that ability. We all have down days. So that's their anxiety, especially if that doesn't work out for them. If they have banked on the fact that they are going to become a successful influencer, and blow me, there are millions out there, and they didn't take notice of their exams, because why would I need A-levels or a degree to become an influencer? I don't. I'm just going to be rich and famous. Or the worst thing I've heard is some young girls say, I'm going to marry a rich man. Well, we know how well that can turn out. The best thing for girls is to be rich themselves. then they will have power over their own autonomy. Lily wants to be a boss, and I think it's fabulous. I would encourage that. And of course, as time goes on, those people grow up until their 30s, and they're looking to buy a house, or they've already bought a house and are weighed down by a mortgage, and small children, and keeping everything going, and also aspiring to do things well, to get somewhere. And I was talking to Katie last night, and I was saying that at times this channel leaves me feeling overwhelmed. I don't feel there are enough hours in the day. And time runs away from me. And I do try so hard to get lots done. Like, getting up this morning at 4 a.m. But some days, by the time you've watched all the people that you follow and you've left a comment, because I do feel that I have to do that. And then you've sorted yourself out, got dressed. Plus, I take my darling boy up a couple of cups of tea every morning at least. And it's April the 1st today, so obviously I had to get my pinch and punch in first of the month in, first off, just in case he started doing it to me. And I managed. He said I was sneaky, which I was. But I said to her, if it weren't for the children, I would have given this up. It has taken over my life. And often I feel overwhelmed. And then when the evening comes and I might sit down, I feel guilty. I feel guilty because I should be doing more. But of course, sometimes at this age, now I'm 68, I seem to be getting tired far more quickly than I did. And that too irritates the hell out of me, because last year, I swear, I could go out in the garden first thing in the morning and I wouldn't get back indoors until it was dark, and I'd be working all day. And these days, let me just get this, that's shining. These days, that can't happen because I just can't do it. I feel like I am some kind of creaking old boat, a tug, going up and down the river, all sort of battered and worn, and it switched itself off, and not working very well. And then at the end of the day, I come in and I'm bent over double. And if I sit down for too long, I can barely get up. So I have to go to bed early, which obviously is quite a good thing, because then it will facilitate me getting up at 3. So, every age group has their separate anxieties. It's not just a GenX thing. You don't sail through your life until you reach your 40s or 50s, and then wham, bam, all of a sudden you're a big heap of anxiety. It follows you through life. And Katie said to me, "That explains a lot, Mum. That explains to me why I'm so driven to work. I feel really guilty if I have to have a day off because of she's not well." She said, "I feel so guilty. And if I sit down, I feel so guilty." I really do. I really do hope that I haven't made her like that, because I'm like that. And she's like that. She is totally driven with her practice, with her patients, with her other practice, with those patients, with her business, everything. And she keeps going on, and now she's got Ehlers-Danlos syndrome to cope with, and I think that's just the pits for her, because now she has got to accommodate not being able to walk properly and everything else that she doesn't stop doing. You know, taking the children for a walk. She can do that because she's got a little Motability scooter. But it's not quite the same for her. It is an adaptation that she has to put up with, and she doesn't complain. That was the first time I've ever heard her say, "Mum, I am driven. I feel guilty if I stop." That was a big eye-opener for me. So I am glad that I get to do their washing and ironing, because it's one thing she doesn't have to worry about. And I'm glad that when she phones me and says, "Mum, are you doing such and such on whatever date?" I say, "No, I can do it, whatever you want." So that I'm a support for her, which does make things a little easier. It does make things easier, so that if she gets an opportunity to do something nice, for example, go away for a couple of days to a health farm or whatever with family, then she knows that she can say yes, and darling boy and I will look after the children. It just is the way. From my last video, I got a comment from one of my dear subscribers, and she was saying that she too suffers from health problems, and she was meant to go to her doctor, and she had it in her calendar for the day after, and they were going to give her a missed appointment fee. Now, I can imagine how stressful it is in a country where you don't have the NHS and you have to pay a lot of money for your medications. How stressful that is to think, "Oh my goodness, I've got to pay for a missed appointment fee." Luckily, they let her off. But that can't help your stress levels, can it? I think in England we are really fortunate. No matter how bad the NHS gets and how long you have to wait, you still do have it better than those people in America who have to think long and hard whether or not they've got insurance, whether or not they can afford to go to the doctor and pay for the medication, because their medication isn't subsidised by a health service. I really do feel fortunate to have the NHS, because when the chips are down, they really do step up to the plate, and you do get treatment quickly, especially if it's cancer. We do pay for health insurance, a lot of money, and that is also helpful. if there's something wrong with me, then I can go to see a consultant quite quickly. For example, I have been suffering ever since last year when I did that big clear out of, it was the clear out of my study where I got rid of all the old court case files of my taking the solicitor to court to get my money back, which was obviously a total waste of time. I had all that paperwork. My darling boy had tons of paperwork because he never throws anything away. And I had so many files, the contents of which ended up either being burned or we depersonalized it, ripped out the bits that were identities, and then we took the rest, or I took the rest to the tip, the recycling centre. And because I'm a fool, I lifted up the box and took it to the paper part of the recycling centre. And from that day until this, I have had problems with my trapezius muscles and my neck. And it's got so bad that I'm going to show you what I use as a pillow. This. Now this is a tubey grip, tied at both ends with 2 yellow tennis balls inside. And this bit is where my spine sits behind my neck like that. And albeit it not particularly comfortable, that's the only sort of pillow that I can use now that my neck is bad. So I went to the doctor and I had an MRI scan for which I had to turn off my stimulator, so I was like this. And then I went to see an acupuncture physiotherapist for, I think it was 5 weeks. That didn't do anything, unfortunately. So then I went back to the consultant and he said that, let me see, I've written it down somewhere. He said, my MRI scan shows that I have severe arthritis in between 3 and 4, 4 and 5, 5 and 6, and C7 and T1. So that's probably what is causing my pain. Well, it is what's causing my pain. My C3 and 4 are congenitally fused. So they've always been like that, but now I've got arthritis too. Severe arthritis, apparently. So that is why I'm having all this problem. And he said, well, there are a couple of things we can do. I'll send you to my pain specialist. So off we trot to the hospital and we go and see this very nice gentleman. And he says, well, I think what we'll try to do first is I will inject those joints that are triggering the pain first to see if that goes well. And if that works, it will take down the inflammation of those nerves which are inflamed. So I thought, okay. And I said, well, I said, I do have a hand tremor. I do have a head tremor. So if I have to turn off my machine, my stimulator, then I will shake. So he said, well, we'll just give you a sedative. So that puts paid to that. So I've got that coming up. So we shall see. Maybe it will do the trick. If that doesn't work, then they have another procedure that they can do called nerve ablation, which means they stick a needle into the nerves that are being affected, and then they put an electric current down them and burn off the ends. I think he would have to be near local for that as well. So we shall see. It might work. I might be able to have a pillow again. I don't know. The thing is, nobody sees any of those bits when you're faffing around at your ironing board, do they? They look at you because, you know, put your face on and you stand here being cheerful, and they don't know what is going on behind. And yes, I know I sound like I'm whinging, but honest to God, you know, it's not nice. It is painful. And at times, there is nothing like continual pain to get you down. When your neck wakes you up because it's giving you a massive headache and it's miserable. What else have I got? Many years ago, I used to be on Prozac. I've had on and off depression, I suppose. Certainly feeling down anyway. Throughout my life, on and off. And I was prescribed Prozac. I think it's called fluoxetine, maybe. Anyway, I was prescribed that. When I got into my 50s, I developed restless leg syndrome. And for a while, I'd been off the serotonin reuptake inhibitors. I've been off those for a number of years, but the pain of my legs was really getting me depressed. And I couldn't sleep at night because I couldn't sit down and I couldn't lie down. So I went to the doctors and they prescribed me antidepressants, thinking that that was the problem. Well, it got an awful lot worse. It didn't stop me from feeling down, but the pain in my legs got an awful lot worse. And I went back to the doctors and I said, you know, about my legs. So they increased the dose, and below me, it got even worse. And this was going on for, I suppose, about 5 years. I went through Bupa and I saw several neurologists about my legs. I had all sorts of weird and wonderful tests and nothing was found. And then one chap I went to with my darling boy came into the office with me, and the consultant said, he said to my husband, "Oh, how's your golf?" And you know, for 20 minutes of that appointment, he was talking to my darling boy about golf. Then he turned around to me and he said, "I think that your problem is all in your mind. You need to see a psychologist." That was it. He couldn't find what he was wrong, so it was obviously my own fault. That is medical gaslighting at its worst. I came out of there. I burst into tears on the way to get back into the car. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do now. He's just written me off. And it wasn't until, sometime afterwards, I can't remember the exact time, but I was awake at night as usual, walking around downstairs that I got onto the restless leg syndrome website. You know, when you start trawling through the web trying to find something that describes your symptoms. And this lady was describing her symptoms of restless leg syndrome. And I thought, wow, that's me. That is me. That's what I do. I can't go into a plane. I can't sit in a theatre. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't go to sleep at night. I can't sit down in the evening. And then I started reading through the entire website, and it was amazing. I found a questionnaire there to tell me about restless legs, and I printed everything off. I must be a doctor's worst nightmare. I printed everything off. They had drugs there that would treat restless leg syndrome. Bearing in mind, they were not over-the-counter drugs. They weren't your average paracetamol. Anyway, I printed everything off. I went back to my doctor, and I had filled in the survey from the restless leg syndrome people. And out of a score, I think it was 50 or 45, I was 39, I think. I think so, anyway. I wasn't far off being at the top end. And I went into my doctor and I said, this is what I've got. These are the drugs that I need to sort it out. So they gave them to me. They prescribed them and I got them. And it was miraculous. My legs stopped hurting because it was the painful variant of restless leg syndrome that I had. And for the first time in years, I was able to sit down in the evening and watch television with my husband, which was amazing. Well, these drugs that I was on were powerful things, you know, opiates, and I think Lyrica is for, I think Lyrica is a epilepsy drug, I'm not sure, but I was on Lyrica as well, pregabalin. And after a while I thought, I don't want to be on morphine for the rest of my life, because what happens if it stops working at that level? Do I have to keep on increasing the dose? So that's when I started looking for an alternative. And I found out about low-dose naltrexone. Now, when I first found out about low-dose naltrexone, it was several years ago, and the number of conditions that it would treat on their conditions page of their website was about that big on the page, on the web page, in total. Now, if you go on to the LDN Research Trust.org, they have so many conditions that it has been proven to help that they have a great big long list, and when you click on that one thing, then a great big other list comes down underneath it. For example, they might have cancers, and then it'll show you, or they might have endocrine problems, and it'll show you. It really is the most amazing drug, and it's cheap, and it's available all over the world. I looked for somebody who lives in America, and I found that there are prescribers in America. that you can get to prescribe you LDN. I get mine through a pharmacy in Glasgow, which is in Scotland, and they send it to me once a month. Well, actually now I pay for an entire year's worth to save on the postage. I get it in capsule form, which is a little more expensive, but I prefer the capsules. And they come, and then I put them in my Dosset box. But now that I'm on LDN, I no longer have polymyalgia rheumatica, which I had, and I also don't have problems with my legs anymore, unless, of course, if I take anything that dries up a cold, that will give me restless legs within 20 minutes of ingesting whatever drug it is. That will give me restless legs. And I cannot take anything for hay fever because that will give me restless legs. There are lots of drugs that will actually cause your legs to kick off, excusing the pun. So if you have got problems with your legs, or here's the thing, if you go to that website, and I will put a link down below, or the address anyway. I don't think YouTube likes people putting live links on their information pages. If you put that into your search box and you go over and you have a jolly good look through their website, if you are poorly for some reason, like you've got problems with your thyroid, Graves' disease, for example, that's in there. Haley disease, which causes horrible outbreaks on your skin, usually at a crease area, so underneath your arms, underneath your breasts, in your groins where your legs are, painful, and it causes your skin to get these little blistery marks that split your skin and become incredibly painful. And my darling boy and I were watching something on the television the other day, and it was a skin clinic in London, and this poor lady, she'd had it, well, she'd inherited it from her mum, and she'd had it for so many years. She was 30-something. She'd had it so many years. Her skin was so fragile that she couldn't hug her daughter. She couldn't carry her. She couldn't pick her up. And she showed Dr. Emma her underarms, and oh my goodness, I just cannot imagine how sore her underarms must have been. Anyway, Dr. Emma took a biopsy and it came back, yes, it was Haley disease. So she said, I'm going to put you on a tablet, a medication called Naltrexone. Well, I knew it was low-dose Naltrexone. She put her on it, and within 6 weeks, this poor lady, her skin was almost sorted. It had dried up, it had become less inflamed. She was thrilled pink. It wasn't split any longer. It was just amazing. And I thought, gosh, that's another disease that can be helped by LDN. So if you've got something that's wrong with you, especially if you're in America where drugs are so expensive, perhaps you should have a look at this, because there is no longer a patent on this drug, and that is why it is so cheap. And that is why Big Pharma won't do clinical trials on it, because they're not going to make squillions of pounds. But it does work. It really does work. So if you have a disease, if you have a syndrome, and you are especially in a country that doesn't have the NHS, then go and have a look on that website to see if you could be someone taking LDN. It also works for lupus. You know, the stuff they give people for lupus is horrendous, just trying to get them to feel better. So have a look, do some research, and if you're in America, there is a place, or there are places and prescribers in America. There are prescribers all over the world for LDN if you just look. It gets sent through the post and you could be on it and you could be much better for it. The other thing that I thought I would do is make my life story videos all into one long video. I was watching I think it was a vidIQ interview with somebody else, and she did a whole ton of videos of hers and joined them up and made one long video. And this video was about 3 hours long, and it was her best video. It was her best performing video ever, which is astonishing. Now, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take out all the extraneous bits and bobs, you know, the end screens and all the rest of it, out of all the other videos and do a new introduction and so on and so forth. And then I'm going to put it up as one long video. And hopefully that will do well for Jack and Lily. We will have to see. Today, I got an email from, I'm not doing the ironing, am I? I got an email from YouTube saying, here's your tax information, or something like that about tax. Now, when you're monetized, you get this page where it says how much you're going to earn at the end of the month. And it says minus taxes. And you think, okay, does that mean they've already taken the tax off? Because you do have to send all of your tax details, even if you're in England, to YouTube and fill in the tax form. So I was under the impression, false as it turns out, that the tax was deducted by YouTube for the British Tax Office. Well, clearly I got the wrong end of the stick, shall we say. I got the wrong end. And it seems that that's not the case. I will have to do a self-assessment form for HMRC at the end of next year, I think, because my earnings this year won't have taken me over the £12,500 that I can earn without being hit up for tax. But I can claim all the paraphernalia that I have purchased purely and simply for this channel. For example, my new computer, that was just for this channel because I did have one, but it was running slow because I'm making all these videos. All that sort of stuff I have to list, and I will be able to use it next year against any tax that they are going to charge me with. Maybe by next year, who knows, I might be, you know, now I'm being dubbed into Japanese and Korean and all sorts. Maybe I'll be earning more, but at the moment, I'm not going to be earning a lot, as you can tell by this week's vast income. That said, I did think, oh no, I'm going to have to, you know, start putting some money by for tax. But according to my darling boy, this year I won't have earned enough. And that's a good thing, because generally, well, always, I just transfer it straight over to Katie to put into the children's bank account. So that's a good thing. Yes, did you know that? Did you know that you have to pay tax on it? It's not tax deducted at source, which would have been quite handy. Then you know what you've got in your hands, don't you? What you can do with it. But if you've got to worry about paying tax at the end of the year, that sort of freaks me out. And I do detest doing any kind of form filling. That is my, absolute bête noire. I just can't stand it. If there's one thing that I can do, is I do ironing and I do housework and I heat up food. I can't say I really cook it because I don't, but I heat up food. And I look after my darling boy. But form filling, I've never liked it. It sends me into a tizzy. And no, I've always had an accountant before I met my darling boy. He does my taxes now. Well, he did when I was earning. He did them. And it looks like he might have to do them again, or I'm going to have to fork out for a tax accountant. But there we go. Such are the worries of the rich and famous. Not. Even these tiny YouTubers have that worry. Even if their pension is being taxed, their pension comes into income. So that money I get each month and just as quickly give away is taxed. If you go over the amount, that counts as your income. So you have to take that into consideration. I think that's all I have on my list. The wig company have got back to me again. They are very good. They didn't say to me, what an enormous head you've got, Imogen, thankfully. But they did say it would take about 40 days to make me a bespoke wig cap, plus the hair. So it's not going to be in a couple of days that I'm going to be popping this new wig on my head. At the moment, my hair is still falling out at an alarming rate, and my hair has fallen out right back to here. This bit of my hair, well, there is no hair. It has fallen out, so I must start wearing my red light thing for my décolletage, which I adapted to wear on my head. I will do that. After I finish the ironing, I'm going to be going out in the garden again. Yesterday I was out there. I'm preparing it for 4 cubic meters of mulch to be delivered next Monday, whereupon I have to get my big girl pants on and shovel it into a wheelbarrow and deposit it all over the garden at the front and the back. That's going to be a massive task in itself. So I will have muscles by the end of that, I think. It is a big job. Anyway, if you have been, thanks for watching. And if you wouldn't mind, would you share this video? That would be smashing. Lots of love. Bye.